What do you think about performances during COVID, performances during Zoom calls and things like this? It's just, I mean, it's basically the same thing, right? I mean, it just so happens that we're talking on stage here. Like, you still got to get people in. An interesting stat that I had heard from someone who does event planning, Deanie Dormer, who you guys both might know, she said that, when these things first started, when COVID started happening, a lot of people were doing Zoom calls, and people were doing just moving the in-person conference that you would go to for 3 days and just moving that directly online. And very quickly, people were realizing that an 8-hour day on an online conference does not equal the same as being at that place. And so she said that she's found that 3 hours is like the max that people will sit there. And if you really think about it, it's interesting. It's probably because people aren't performing the same way that you would watch a 3-hour Netflix binge or the Titanic or something like that. You're just not pulling that person in enough and hooking them, right, which is something that we've talked about many times today is incredibly valuable. But what are your thoughts on online performances during this time? Because I don't think we're going to lose a lot of the, when we go back to the new normal that it is, but whatever we want to call any of this, we're still going to be doing things online. Technology is going to get stronger. What are your thoughts on kind of performances in the digital world?
Yeah. So what you said, absolutely right. And when at William & Mary, when things went online at about mid-March, then it was really, really hard to sit through a 3-hour to an hour and 50-minute Flex MBA class on Monday nights, where we had all known each other in person, and then we were online suddenly and synchronous. And so we had to shorten things. Sometimes we were able to shorten them a lot. But one thing that people can use, which is very, very interesting, is, and the thing that's missing in the online space that you can sort of get that we used to have in-person workshops, is that time when people take a break and they chat with each other, or there's the lunch break and everybody talks to each other. And then there's that mid-afternoon break and everybody talks to each other, and conversations happen in that live workshop that sometimes aren't happening in the Zoom or video conferencing space. So I suggest making those opportunities available. So maybe you take more breaks. Maybe you take a break and you maybe have a couple of breakout rooms, and they're on different themes. And you send people, you say, identify what breakout room you'd like to go to, and I'll move you to that room. And everybody goes and gets to know each other for 10 or 15 minutes during the break. And then you have lunch, and you say, everybody have your lunch ready. We're going to take lunch from 12 to 12:45, and we're going to leave the room open. And everybody, if you want to come hang out and just visit and eat your lunch together, great. Because those are the things that happen. The content can be delivered in a very similar way. But it's those interpersonal interactions that are what we're missing in this video education style.
Well, I guess we're getting, so like we can have a 3-way talk here, right? But then, and I guess there are some platforms that are trying to have these smaller rooms a part of stuff, right? But it still needs to be micro people, like micro amounts of people, because you can't have, 100-person conference and then say, hey, we're going to have 4 rooms and then still 25 people there. Right. You still got to get it down. And, I'm a big proponent of the Just Say Hey movement. And so getting it, even if that person, the event organizer, doesn't have a room available, look at the people that are there. And I would start DMing the person, sliding into the DMs, as the cool kids say, and just be like, hey, like, we're going to take this, I'm going to be on this break. Do you want to hop on a Zoom call ourselves? Do you want to, what's your FaceTime call? Yep. Like, let's figure out a way to do that. And so oftentimes being proactive in that, I think, can be very beneficial too, not just waiting for the event organizer to have that, because I think that's going to take a long time for a lot of people to do, because they're going to find a billion excuses as to why not to do it. But most of the time you have an event list of people that are there, and I think you should do the due diligence to find those people and chat with them up yourself so that you can do the things that you're saying.
Yeah, and I think a surprise to people who are not used to living in, the one I'm most familiar with is Zoom or Microsoft. What is theirs? Teams. Yeah, and even in this one that you're using, it has a chat window.
Sure.
And I think that sometimes people that are not used to living in this space are surprised by how active the chat window is, especially by people who are in the younger generation, the under 40s, are really into sharing and expressing and communicating in technology.
Are you saying us folks under 40 don't like to do in-person things? That seem
No. I'm saying you're more adept
I'm
at
kidding.
at working in the chat stuff, where older people, I see they're afraid they're going to mess something up. And so they don't.
Well, they're so singularly focused on something too, where I think others have been able to evolve and be able to do 2, 3, 4 things at once, and go and search for certain links during all that.
Sure,
absolutely. Which makes the whole online thing so much more difficult because there's so many distractions, and you can, I mean, just like the viewers of this show. Yeah, I mean, it's the number that the viewers is bouncing up and down. You can enter, you can leave, you can. No one's going to notice. So you got to up your game to try to keep that attention.
What will Zack Miller's hair look like this week?
All right.
Right.
Maybe I should dye it next week. Who knows? I mean, like dye it purple or something. Is that what you guys want to see? Who knows?
I would like
whatever.